names that you see on the screen, and then we are keeping an eye on two other individuals. So, Sekou, I'm going to start with you. You have the floor, my brother. So, of course, the trade watch, we're looking at the trade deadline. February 6th, 3 p.m. Eastern. Which one of these players is going to be on the move?
You know what? I think we have a potential for an absolute fire sale in Detroit if we're not careful. They have multiple players who could be on the move. We've heard about Andre Drummond being, in the crosshairs for some teams. But Derrick Rose playing the way he's playing, if you're a contender and you need a veteran guard, to come off your bench in direct traffic and be an offensive weapon, boy, looking fantastic, looking like young D. Rose. I also think if you really look at the landscape out there, most of the trades that happen at the deadline come around the ones we never hear about. So sometimes you got to take some of those names off of there, the ones you're hearing about and the rumors are floating around, and think about who's lurking out there that we haven't been talking about. And that's why, you saw Andre Iguodala's name up there. To me, that's a guy who's got to be on the minds of GM making these phone calls just to find out what his status is in Memphis.
That's going to be interesting because
is he in the plans?
I've been seeing him more on television than I've been seeing him anywhere near a basketball team, but that's another conversation. Karan, what about you? I see you have some names as well.
Yeah, you know what? I had D. Rose, I had Kevin Love, and also Tristan Thompson. And I think that when you looking at the landscape of the game and what do each individual team on that short list that have a realistic shot at winning in the foreseeable future, and what I mean by that is 1 to 3 years. You look at the Lakers, they still lack another playmaker, a guy that LeBron trusts, that has complete confidence in, that can go ahead and go out and get his own and then facilitate for others. So Derrick Rose comes to mind. Darren Collison comes to mind. Jamal Crawford, will somebody pick him up at some point? And other individuals, I think Kevin Love, he might not land on a contender with a team in contention, but someone like Tristan Thompson, I think that he's a valuable asset out there. And I think exactly about what the Boston Celtics are missing from having a paint defender, a guy that can be an enforcer. They miss Baines a ton. And I think that what he brings to the table with the physicality and what he brings, battle-tested, champion, he fits in, he plugs, he knows his role, he identifies it extremely well. He can be an asset to a team.
So this is totally not in the rundown, but I just think about this before we get out of this segment. Chris Paul obviously was the talk of a lot of trade chatter at the beginning of the season. Now we see that the Thunder are in the thick of the playoffs. Yes or no, do you think he's still on the block or does he stay?
I don't think he get traded because listening to Sam Presti and other individuals, the rumblings that I'm getting is that Sam Presti says, you give us a reason to come to work. And he embodies everything good about OKC. So I don't think Chris Paul will be moved. And he's not taking a pay cut.
Yeah, I don't see him taking a pay cut at all. Obviously, making an all-star team, I'm sure there's some teams that would love to have him. But if you're Oklahoma City and you rebuilding, and this is how you're doing it, that's, Chris Paul should stay put, continue to mentor Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, some of those young guys, and you get everything you can out of he and Dennis Schroeder and Gilgeous-Alexander. You let those young guys feed off him, and you get to the postseason and shock everybody by doing so.
I think this is the best job he's done from a leadership standpoint. I played on the live teams.
You're talking about Chris Paul.
Yeah. This is the best job I've seen him do. Traditionally, guys come in this space, veteran guys, a little long in the tooth. You're like, you know what? They're going to exercise the right to find a new location. Chris Paul stayed there. He evaluated the situation. He said, you know what? I'm going to win with this group, and that's exactly what he's doing.
You got to tip your cap to Sam Presti and Chris Paul as well, because they're basically at the same pace they were in the previous 2 seasons, sitting right there in the thick of the playoffs, and they lost an MVP and another All-NBA player. So kudos to Chris Paul and company there in OKC, getting it done. This is called a bump. The trade deadline is coming to you, the special, right here on NBA TV Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Somebody moving.
Hey, somebody got to go. We ain't going nowhere.